Man, you should have been there. He was all like, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. And I was like, oh yeah? Well, why'd you call this? And BAM! I slammed the evidence right in front of him.
Gentlemen, this is Thomas Lynch. He's just been promoted from patrol officer to private detective. I'm sure you all make him feel welcome. Lynch, you're with Detective West. Good luck.
Sir, I don't do partners. You know that.
Well, now you do. Except, of course, if you don't like your job anymore.
Fine. But don't blame me when this goes pear-shaped.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Uh-huh. You hungry?
Hungry?
Yeah, you know, that feeling you get when you need to eat.
Yeah, I could eat.
Good. Follow me. I know a place.
Excuse me. Are you Detective Jonathan West?
Last time I checked, why'd you ask?
My name is ISABEL THOMPSON. My husband was found dead last year on the side of Morgan Road. The detective studying the case ruled it as a suicide.
Okay. If it was ruled as suicide, and if the case is closed, why bring it to me?
I don't think he jumped. I think he was pushed. He would never walk home. He'd always get a taxi home if he had been drinking, and he loved his life.
Maybe he fancied the walk that night.
I tried convincing myself that, but there was many people who didn't like my husband and would have loved to kill him, especially one person.
And who would that be?
His brother Eric. 2 days before his death, they had a falling out and they had a fight. Eric said he would kill him, and he would enjoy watching him fall to his death.
Okay. I don't know what to suggest.
Well, take the details of you and get on with the case.
Thank you. ISABEL THOMPSON.
Come in.
I hope you don't mind, but I looked into that case with Mrs. Thompson.
You mean the case that is being closed and ruled as a suicide?
Oh, yeah,
Lynch,
it's just...
I know you're new here, I know you want to do well and impress, but the case is closed and we're not reopening it. Mrs. Thompson is obviously struggling to come to terms with the death of her husband, which is understandable, but if the case notes say that Mr. Thompson jumped and committed suicide, then who are we to argue?
Well, I thought that exactly. But if you look at the case notes... See, right there? It says that there were fingerprints found on the jacket and they weren't run through the computer.
Detective on the case probably don't want to waste his time. The guy jumped on the story.
Oh, would it hurt to look into this? I mean, like...
Fine. If it shuts you up, we'll go see Captain Ashley now. When the case turns to lead nowhere and the fingerprints turn out to be nothing, then maybe, just maybe, we can get out there and start solving real crimes again.
Good, let's go.
I was being sarcastic.
Too late, let's go.
Lynch! Yep.
So let me get this straight. A lady approached you in a cafe and suggested you reopen this case because she believed her husband was murdered and didn't commit suicide. Then Lynch took it upon himself to look through the case notes and found there were no fingerprints to run through. And now you're asking for my permission just so you can run the fingerprints through the computer.
We believe that...
Actually, sir, we don't believe anything. Lynch believes that Mrs. Thompson is right and that her husband was murdered. I believe that Mrs. Thompson is wrong and that her husband committed suicide, just like the case notes said.
So there's not a little bit of you that believes that these case notes could be wrong? That the detective on this case could have been lazy, could have missed something?
Enough! The both of you. It doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong. There's someone out there that has reason to believe that we are wrong and we did not solve this case correctly. There were fingerprints that were vital to the case but have been ignored. So I'm telling you now, reopen this case, prove Mrs. Thompson right or prove her wrong. Either way, get to the bottom of this. Lynch, who was the detective working on this case?
Detective Philip Kitty, sir.
Right. Lynch, run the fingerprints through the computer. Wes, speak to Kitty and see what you can find.
Yes, sir. Me and Detective Lynch have reopened the Benjamin Thompson case. We have reason to believe that his wife, who approached us, mentioned to us that he may have been murdered rather than commit suicide.
I worked on that case for weeks. If he was murdered, I would have found something.
There were fingerprints you never ran through the computer. Whoever they belonged to could hold vital information to the case.
West! The results came back. The fingerprints belonged to a Mr. Eric Thompson, and that's who Mrs. Thompson believed murdered her husband.
Is this your partner?
He's not my partner. So where does Mr. Thompson live? The sooner we get this over with, the sooner I can get back to solving real cases.
You still think this is a waste of time?
I think it's highly unlikely Eric Thompson killed Benjamin.
What makes you say that?
Well, Eric Thompson's body was found 6 hours before Benjamin's was found. We believe that since both brothers had issues and allegedly had a fight the night before, it looked like Benjamin killed Eric, went out for a drink to calm his nerves, couldn't live with the fact that he killed his brother and jumped off the flyover.
Okay, so we go round to Mr. Emery's house, see what he can tell us, and we'll work at it from there. Alison Emery, I'm Detective Jonathan West, this is Detective Thomas Lynch. I was wondering if we could ask you a few questions. So Mr. Emery, what can you tell us about Benjamin and Eric Thompson?
Well, since you and your partner are here, you may as well know everything. Eric always said that he was going to kill Benjamin, but when Benjamin found out that Eric was having an affair with his wife, Isabel, he called me straight away. He was raging, saying he was going to kill Eric. The night before, the two of them were in the local bar. Eric shouted he was going to kill Benjamin. He always made those sorts of threats, but Benjamin got hold of Eric and must have beaten him to death. The police couldn't get hold of Isabel, so since I'm their cousin, they informed me of everything that had happened. I tried to get hold of Isabel, but she wouldn't pick up the phone. Eventually she did. I told her about Ben and Eric, but she didn't seem very bothered about the whole situation, which was surprising, since she just found out her brother-in-law / lover was murdered by her husband, and that her husband had killed himself.
So Mrs. Thompson never seemed surprised at all that both the men were dead.
It's like she didn't care. She had no emotion about the whole situation. Almost like
she knew they were dead. Thank you for everything, Mr. Emery. You've been very helpful.
Thank you.
West. Okay, understood. We'll make our way over there right now. Okay, understood, sir. That was Captain Ashley. The fingerprints from Benjamin's jacket has come back. The Isabel Thompson's. Okay, West. Isabel Thompson. Isabel Thompson, I'm arresting you for the murders of Benjamin and Eric Thompson.
Well done, lads. Thanks to you and the murders off the streets of Sharktown. Congratulations on your first job, Detective Lynch. Now, go home, the pair of you.
I don't get it. Why would Mrs. Thompson ask us to reopen a case when she killed both of them? And why would she try to pin the murder on someone who's dead?
The murderer's mind works in mysterious ways, Lynch. Maybe she wanted to turn herself in, but didn't have the courage, so she wanted to see if we were clever enough to catch her. Or maybe she's just crazy. Either way, she's behind bars and she is not our problem.
I guess. Oh, better be off. Early morning and all that.
Yeah. Hey Lynch, you did good today. Well then. Partner.
I know what you did, Detective West.